Hi, I'm Bill Berry, and welcome to my desert adventures. I visited the Salton Sea twice in the last 2 weeks with my friends Robert Marcos on one trip and Daryl Wilkinson on another. Although the two trips had different missions, on both occasions we were able to see the beauty and uniqueness of the Salton Sea. On both trips we visited the little town of Bombay Beach. Bombay Beach is nestled serenely along the shores of the dying sea. Once a popular getaway for beachgoers, the slow death of the Salton Sea nearly led to the total demise of this little community. Bombay Beach is enjoying a rebirth of sorts. An influx of artists, intellectuals, and hipsters have turned it into a sort of bohemian playground. Here's a look at what we found on the first part of our trips. What used to be the main shoreline, going all the way up to the community, has now turned into an art museum of sorts. There are dozens of eclectic and, I must say, different art exhibits in this outdoor museum known as Bombay Beach.
Hello.
Well, the only other thing is not nothing. I wanted to show Daryl as much of the sea as possible, so we drove all the way around it. We went to the south end, and then we explored the World War II Salton Sea test base. Here's a little bit of what we saw. Just a short distance from Bombay Beach, you get into the geothermal area of the sea. I noticed steam coming from the Hell's Kitchen area, and I hadn't seen that before. So we drove over and came across this plant. It looks like controlled thermal, has actually tapped the brine, and you can see the power of the geothermal energy below us. From there, we drove to take a look at the several different active volcanoes that are along the Salton Sea at the south end. This included Red Hill, Obsidian Butte, and a good look at Mullet Island. It's clear to see that there's a lot of geothermal activity in this area, and it was fun to see all the steam coming out both naturally and from man's attempt to harness electrical energy using geothermal power. Here you can see the volcanic mud pots that have erupted out of the ground with the geothermal plant in the background. Before we headed to the Salton Sea test base, we stopped at Obsidian Butte, one of the last volcanoes around the bottom of the sea, and discovered a huge obsidian flow. Obsidian tools made from these deposits by the local Native American tribes can be found all over California. Our last stop was the abandoned Salton Sea test base. We discovered some rocket launch pads where they tested rockets all the way up until the 1980s. There were dozens of these launch pads overlooking the Salton Sea from the desert. We ended our trip with a look at the old ammo bunker that we found hidden in the desert. On my trip with Robert, we were in search of one of the old World War II floating targets that existed along the sea. We did both an aerial search and a visual search, but we didn't have much luck.
Well, Bill and I are following a ravine, arroyo I guess you would call it, down to the Salton Sea, looking for the World War II bombing target platform that used to be down here.
Even though we were unsuccessful in our search, it was still another unbelievably beautiful day at the Salton Sea. So don't listen to all the critics. There's plenty of beauty in the Salton Sea, and there's far more than nothing